This guy has been underestimated, President Trump, forever. His political instincts are to go for the kill, and he does it better than anyone else. And the Democrats are severely, again, underestimating this guy. I want to move on, though, because the Iowa caucus is today. And President Trump gave an interview to my good friend Sean Hannity. He did a great job, asked him a lot of good questions. And in the interview, Paul and I were kind of laughing about this before the show. No one does this better. Seriously, President Trump may be one of the most underrated politicians in the history of this country. I'm not kidding. You don't disagree with his personal style, rough edges, fine. Again, I don't care. I'm a Queens guy like he is. Doesn't bother me one bit. The guy's knack for distilling down to a simple talking point, things that will resonate with heartland working Americans, is unparalleled. But he also has an effective way of doing this when it comes to describing his opponents. He did it in the Republican primary in 2016, and he's doing it now with the Democrats. Sean Hannity asks him about the Iowa caucus. Again, today we'll have results for you tomorrow. Don't miss that show. We'll give you full analysis of where this is going to go. But here's him. He's asked about Bernie, President Trump. He's asked about Elizabeth Warren and about Michael Bloomberg. And here is, I can't even, only Trump can do this. Check this out.
Bernie Sanders.
Well, I think he's a communist. I mean, look, I think of communism when I think of Bernie. Now, you could say socialist, but did he get married in Moscow? And that's wonderful. Moscow's wonderful.
Might have been the honeymoon.
You don't think necessarily, well, whatever, but you don't necessarily think in terms of marriage, Moscow. And it's wonderful. I'm not knocking it, but I think of Bernie sort of as a socialist, but far beyond a socialist.
Elizabeth Warren.
At least he's true to what he believes. That's one thing. Because you mentioned now Elizabeth Warren. She's not true to it. I call it fairy tale. Because everything's a fairy tale. That's how Pocahontas got started. Everything's a fairy tale. This woman can't tell the truth.
Michael Bloomberg.
Very little. I just think of little.
Oh, boy. He just has this way of encompassing for those of you who went to business, not to keep referencing business school here, but I actually learned a lot. I did. I'm saying, most of the time you go to college, you learn nothing. You only learn how to be a social justice warrior. But one of the things we did, which is really effective, and I'll still use it to this day, I don't necessarily draw the grids or anything, but you know what SWOT analysis is? Not SWOT like a SWAT team. SWOT like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats with an O. And what they do is they put together these grids and they say, well, how do I, leverage my strengths by taking advantage of an opportunity? How do I, mitigate a weakness by mitigating a threat? It's very helpful to finding opportunities in politics, business, anywhere. Trump does this by instinct. He's not actively doing a SWOT analysis in his head. His political instincts are to instantly see a candidate's weakness and to leverage an opportunity right away. And that is a knack in business and in politics that I got to tell you, not a lot of people have by pure instinct. They can be coached to do it. Just like business schools coach people in SWOT analysis, Trump doesn't need the coaching. He's a natural at it. He's not a natural at everything, but he's a natural at that. So on Bernie, he zones right in on what he thinks will decimate Bernie's campaign. And he's right. The guy's a socialist. But notice what he does. Did you catch it? This is where he's smart, and people don't give him credit for it. And it's really irritating. It's a good thing because they underestimate him chronically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Notice what he says about Bernie. He goes, but at least he's authentic. And it comes off like a compliment, which disarms people into believing that, well, if he's complimenting him, then what he said about him just now must be true. I hope I'm not using too much nuance in this.
No, man.
It's brilliant. In other words, instead of piling on Bernie, which makes an insult like calling him a socialist look like it's petty and it's just Trump being angry at him, he follows it up with a compliment which gives the socialist aura Bernie Sanders have, which will decimate him. We're not a socialist country in the campaign, which gives it some meat on the bone, to reuse a line I used earlier. It's a brilliant, I don't even think sometimes he knows, he just does it by instinct. He knows Bernie Sanders' socialist bona fides are a death stroke in a general election. So he says at the end in a veiled compliment, well, at least he's being authentic about it. In other words, he's not kidding. He's really a socialist. Double wink and nod, eyes closed. With Elizabeth Warren, again, he senses the weakness right before the caucus and he goes in for the kill. What does he say? Oh, the truth. The truth. Elizabeth Warren with the truth. We call her fairy tale. He doesn't call her fairy tale. That just happened right there. But he understands this stuff will stick. Elizabeth Warren, fairy tales, problems with the truth. Nobody likes inauthentic candidates. Nobody. That's why Trump resonates. Because you may not like him, but he's authentic. That's who Trump is. Believe me. That is exactly who President Trump is. It's not inauthentic. That is not a word you associate with Donald Trump. He understands one about Bernie, though obviously the weakness is the socialism thing, and he puts a gloss on it to make it seem even more legit. He understands with Warren, her inauthenticity is a weak spot, and the words automatically come to mind to him. It's brilliant political instinct. Fairy tales, problems with the truth. Finally, with Bloomberg, he calls him little. Now, this is a little, I'm sorry to layer nuance upon nuance, but one of the things in a leader, whether it's a coach for a football team, to use a Super Bowl analogy, or a president of the United States, one of the things a general in our military, people want to see is they want the perception of strength. And I say the perception of strength because, folks, everybody knows that everyone else is a human being. Obviously, we know everybody has weaknesses. We know, people behind closed doors, they sometimes shed a tear when they're in pain. People have weak moments. We know that. But we want the perception of strength. We like our leaders to be bold, to have proud chests, stand out, and to look the part and act the part. Trump has used this dig repeatedly in the Republican primary in 2016 and now. This little, L-I-D-D, little.
Yeah.
He's used this dig repeatedly because he knows it goes to the heart of the leadership strength debate people have in their own heads when picking a candidate. And he, again, by instinct knows whether it's a knock on his stature, Bloomberg, I don't know. But he knows that's a devastating dig. And again, by instinct, I don't even think he has to think about it. It comes right out. Folks, I'm telling you right now, this guy has been underestimated, President Trump, forever. His political instincts are to go for the kill, and he does it better than anyone else. And the Democrats are severely, again, underestimating this guy.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.